A very warm welcome to each of you, and we're happy to have you back with us after the short break. At SixSox, we believe that each one of us has the capability to be a winner. We welcome all of you with open arms as our goal is to serve, learn, share, and reach beyond. In addition, we are here for you with any assistance that you or your organization might need on a group or individual basis. SixSox classrooms are where we deliver quality to the best of our capabilities. Do reach out to us to know more. Let me introduce our speaker for today. With over 40 years of professional experience, including with multinational corporations such as Unilever and Constantia Flexibles, Hariharan is a specialist in strategy, strategic analysis, connected strategy, and operational excellence. A corporate advisor, assessor, and trainer with exceptionally high communication skills, he has advised and assisted organizations to exponentially improve their operational effectiveness. A certified independent director, a Six Sigma Master Black Belt, and an ISO 9001-2015 Lead Auditor, Hariharan is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our dear speaker, Mr. A Hariharan, who's asking us a very interesting question today. Are you possessed?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, every one of you, irrespective of where you are in the world right now. And welcome to this session, which we are having after quite a break, which has been caused by holidays and the schedules of everybody involved in this. And it's great to have everybody back and good to see everybody here in an afternoon period when some of you perhaps were tempted to have a siesta. And we hope that our session today will keep you awake. And then after that, you will forget about the siesta and start reflecting on certain things about yourself that you had perhaps not thought about earlier. When the announcement of this session went out, I got a few calls from friends saying, hey, what is this topic all about? And I said, well, when you join in, sit through it and listen, you will probably get a better understanding of what we mean by this topic and what this question was all about. And maybe what we could do is perhaps this crossed your mind as well. What is this session all about? What I would request you to do is to take the next 30 seconds and type in the chat box as to what this topic means to you. And then I will request our hostess, Deepa, to call out the responses that you have put onto the chat board. So your time starts now, 30 seconds. What does this topic mean to you? Are you possessed? Or what was the thought which came to your mind when you saw this topic in the announcer? All right. Thank you for that. Deepa, maybe you would like to call out some of the responses in the chat box?
Sure, we've got some interesting answers across the board. To realize your potential, self-starter, do you still have it in you? Some say evil spirit, being possessed by a ghost, dictated by someone. Someone has to say it involves your skill set. Do you have the energy to take on challenges? A lot of them think it has something to do with a ghost, perhaps.
All right. That's an interesting one. In fact, that thought crossed my mind when I wrote this title. And I thought some of you may think that this is about the movie The Omen, or being possessed by a spirit or an evil being and so on and so forth. No, it's not anything to do with that. One of my friends asked me, does it have to do something with obsessive compulsive disorder? And my answer was no, it does not have anything to do with OCD. It's something very different, something which is very close to all our collective hearts, and something which we occasionally may have thought about, but for the better part have ignored because it's never occurred to us saying, hey, we are actually possessed by or with or because of something. And today's session will focus on some of these aspects that we are actually possessed by. Still curious? Let's begin. All of us, the fact that we're sitting here means that we are connected to the internet. People of my generation, many years ago did not have access to the internet at all. There was no such thing as the internet. But today, the internet occupies a considerable part of our day in terms of whatever we do in office. The fact that we're sitting now on a Zoom meeting means that we are connected to the internet. Sure. But have you ever considered one small little detail? What would happen if your internet connection went down suddenly, just now? What would your reaction be? A lot of people would react in different ways. One group of people may perhaps walk over to the neighbor's house and ask the neighbor, hey, is your internet working? And if the neighbor says, no, it's not working, the people say, that's okay, that's all right. Neighbor's work is not working, mine also is not working, so we are okay, nothing wrong with that. Some others will start getting panicky and they will call the internet service provider, say, my connection is not there, I want it back, my work is stuck, I have to do this, I have to do that, I want it back now. And then they will fret and fume for the next 3, 4, 5 hours till the internet comes back. Question is, you have the internet. Now, if it is not there, is your life going to change significantly? Are we going to be different people? Is it that we cannot find something else to do? The internet has possessed us progressively as we've gone along. Have you ever thought of that? Probably not, because we're consumed by it. A lot of us are part of social media. There are many social media that people use. It could be Facebook, could be LinkedIn, could be Twitter, could be whatever else it may be. And that occupies us to a significant degree. Now, I'm not on Facebook, and thank God, because I see what has happened to people who are on Facebook. And I do not mean any disrespect, don't get me wrong. But you have people checking on their Facebook pages 4, 5, 6 times a day, and they spend maybe a couple of hours each day looking at Facebook pages. Now, when we talk about social media, why do you use social media? Is it because you want to stay in touch with others? Fair enough. No bad thing, because you're not able to meet people often. So you say, okay, I'll connect through the internet, through the social media, and I'll be in touch with people. Or is it because everyone else is on it, so I also need to be on it? It becomes a kind of social pressure that is brought to bear on us, saying we should be there because somebody else is there. And then we start counting our friends. How many friends do we have on Facebook? How many friends or how many contacts do we have on LinkedIn? I remember overhearing this interesting conversation maybe a couple of years ago when somebody said, you know what, my LinkedIn is not effective enough. And somebody else asked him, why not? He says, no, you know what? A lot of people have got 500 plus connections. I only had 315. So I'm not connected enough and I need to increase my connection. And I thought to myself, seriously? Just because somebody's got 500 plus connections, does that make him a better person? How many of those 500 plus people does he actually know personally? And how many of the 315 people do you know personally? Probably a small fraction, maybe 10, 15, 20, 25. The rest are names. And on platforms like Facebook, you're invited by somebody and then you click on that person's profile and you see that he or she is a friend of a friend of a friend, and therefore you want to connect with that person. Is that person really your friend? If you meet that person on the street and he says, hey, you know what, you and I are Facebook friends, will you recognize that person? Is that what friendship is all about? Friendship is about something else. It's about people who are different different backgrounds, different social status, different wealth levels, different jobs, different habits, become friends for whatever reason. They connect with each other. And whether it's after 6 months, a year, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, when they meet each other, there's that warmth, there's happiness, there's that feeling, hey, we are friends. But when it comes to platforms like Facebook, which I'm not part of, it has possessed you. It's become, I hate to use this word, but we become obsessed by Facebook. Now, if Raghav is sitting in Starbucks and Shamla is shopping at Debenham, yeah, the word is flashed across in a moment. And everybody knows that Shamla is in Debenham shopping, and everybody knows that Raghav is in Starbucks enjoying his mocha frappuccino. And occasionally my wife will turn around to me and say, you know what? So-and-so is in Ras Al Khaimah on a staycation. And I look at her quizzically and say, so what? And she doesn't find that very amusing, my response. My question, so what? Okay, so-and-so is in Ras Al Khaimah on a staycation. Good for them. Let them have a great holiday. Let them enjoy themselves and come back and narrate what happened. But the fact that I'm sitting in Starbucks having a mocha frappuccino isn't really sort of breaking news that has to be broadcast to the whole world, right? But it becomes something that has possessed us, and we need to tell people about it. Think about it. Do people really want to know where you are? But we do this all the time, don't we? And it's a very interesting dynamic about how humans behave. And all of us, in some form or the other, indulge in this. Yeah. The other thing which has become a big part of our lives is this app that all of you have on your mobile phones. And now we spent the last 15 minutes in this session, perhaps. How many times have you checked your phone to look at your WhatsApp messages? Ask yourself this question. How many minutes have you spent today checking on your WhatsApp? We read our messages, we're members of different groups. Yeah, we didn't ask for the messages to come, but the messages keep pouring in. So we either read or don't read, we delete, we don't delete, right? We block. But end of the day, what has happened is we've all become what's obsessed. This is a term that I coined myself. What's obsessed? We've become obsessed by WhatsApp. And if you don't receive a WhatsApp message for 10 minutes, you go into a state of panic. Your blood pressure goes up, your heart starts beating madly, and then the doctor in the clinic is eagerly waiting for your arrival so that his profits also will start going up at the end of the month by your visit. So he prescribes something for you to calm you down. We become slaves to these apps. Yeah, it was a good thing. The intention was great to communicate, to stay in touch. Now, I'm a member of a group of my schoolmates. Yeah, we were schoolmates 40 years ago. We are still in contact. We interact with each other. But when it becomes an obsession, that's when it becomes problematic, because your entire life revolves around, hey, who's on WhatsApp? Hey, who's doing what? And what started off as a nice thing has possessed us. And we are not what we are. If we didn't have the internet, if we didn't have WhatsApp, if we didn't have Facebook, would our life be any worse? Or would we find time to do other things? Read a book, go for a walk, go out somewhere for a movie, go out for a meal. But even when we go for a meal, look around you, you'll find everybody, families sitting together, each one of them looking at their mobile phones. Which brings me to another part, which is the way we transport ourselves. Yeah. Why do you need a car? Ask yourself the question. Is it something that gets you from point A to point B? Logically, yes, right? Or is it something that is a reflection of our personality or represents our status? I have a small car, somebody has a big car, I want a bigger car. Why? Oh, because it's stylish, it's nice, it's modern. So what does that big, stylish car do for us? Gets us from point A to point B. That's all it does, right? We aspire. And then that car possesses us instead of we possessing that car. I want to be in a BMW. I want to be in a Lexus. Sit back and think about it. Does it really matter? If somebody sees you coming in a small car as opposed to a fancy car, okay, momentarily he may think, oh, this guy has got an old jalopy. Okay, so what? Once you start talking to him, interacting with him, he's going to respect you for what you are, not the car that you arrived in. Yeah. Now, I've got a Honda car, which is 7 years old. And I've got a few friends who got the latest Lexus SUVs. Do I feel a sense of envy? No, I don't, because my car, 7-year-old car, gets me from point A to point B, and it gets me as quickly as my neighbor's Lexus will get him from point A to point B. So end of the day, has his Lexus added value compared to my Honda? Yeah, he feels great about it for a while. He enjoys driving in the luxury of Lexus. But at the end of the day, he still has to maintain it just like I have to do. Right? He still has to get it serviced. He still has to change his tires and batteries. But the image of that car consumes him. Rather than possessing the car possesses him, because for him, it's an object of demonstration to the world. I am driving a BMW, I'm driving a Lexus, I'm driving a Rolls Royce, or whatever it may be. It has possessed us. When it comes to a house, what is your house for? Is it a place to live in? Yes. Is it something to project who you are? I live in a small apartment. Now I want to live in a bigger apartment. I want to live in an apartment with a view. I want to live in an apartment which is big. I want to live in a villa. I don't want a row house. I want an independent villa with a big garden. I have no idea about how to grow plants. Yeah, if I pour water on plants, the plants will die. But I want that garden. What is that for? That house occupies us, possesses us. Many years ago, there was no air conditioning, and we lived happily. Today, if the air conditioner stops working for whatever reason, you just can't live. Yeah, you say, there's no air conditioning. Yeah, I'm sweating away. When will the AC come back? That AC which you own, because it was nice, has started possessing you. That house has started possessing you. And that device that all of us carry, yeah, in our pockets, it's always there. It's an extension of our arm, extension of our life, extension of our very being. That mobile phone. There were no mobile phones once upon a time. And what's a phone for? Is it to make phone calls? Logically, yes, right? To make a phone call. But how many of you actually make a phone call? In a week of 7 days, have you made 7 phone calls, 10, 20 phone calls? A lot of us don't use the phone for a phone call. We use it for all other features. The wonderful apps, fitness apps. How many miles have I walked today? My Facebook, yeah. Plus, think about it. Your phone starts becoming an object that you want to project yourself by. I've seen people, and it amuses me. They carry a mobile phone with the logo visible to everybody. Yeah, that logo speaks for themselves. I want to project that I've got. Don't get me wrong, I'm not picking on any particular brand, but I'm just taking an example. I've got an iPhone. I've got the latest iPhone. Does it do the same job as my beat-up Samsung? Sure, it does exactly the same thing. But no, I want to project it. That phone has now started owning us. My phone is 6 months old. No, the new model has come. So the model 19 is gone. The model 20 has come now. 22 is coming in. 26 is going to come next month. I want 26. Is it doing something better than the 18? Not quite, right? But we still want it. Why? Because that brand, that image owns us. Not the fact that we own a phone to make a phone call. These are realities. And I'm as materialistic as you are. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's me versus you. I'm as culpable in this as you are, except that I perhaps look at things a little differently. I remember this campaign many, many years ago about this brand, TV brand from Onida, neighbors envy, owners pride. Yeah. So you have an Onida, so your neighbor's going to be envious of you. Today it's reverse. Somebody's got something, you want it, you want to possess it, right? And we have to ask this question to ourselves. Do we desire to buy something that everybody else has? Is that why we buy? How often after we bought something, have we realized that we don't really need it? Yeah, we bought it because that urge was very strong. That advertising possessed us. The features possessed us. We bought it. Having bought it, we've conquered. We don't need it, but it's possessed us. And that's why we bought it. Because of somebody else, influenced by media, influenced by neighbors envy, owners pride. So neighbor has it, I want it. I have it, my neighbor wants it. And life goes on that way. So we need to ask a few questions of ourselves. Are there things that we could live without? We accumulate a lot of things, but can we live without them? Once upon a time we did. So today, what is different? What has changed? Just because it is there, do we have to own them? Why do we want to buy? Is it because it's there? Because it's going to be of use to us? Because our life is going to improve? In some instance, yes, it will improve. Like for example, now there's a lot of conversation about this gadget called the Zumba. What is the Zumba? It is a vacuum cleaner, robotic vacuum cleaner, which goes and cleans your entire house. You don't need to do anything about it. So you can sit watching your WhatsApp and your Facebook, and the Zumba will go and clean your house. Yeah. You mean you never cleaned your house without that Zumba? You did, right? But today, the Zumba has overtaken us. So if you don't have a Zumba or the Zumba needs servicing, oh man, my life has changed. I'm in trouble. Yeah. That is how things are changing. Do we really need it? We never ask ourselves a question when we buy. And what is also important is, we have our own financial goals in some way or other. We want to build a saving, we want to provide for our kids, we want to build a house, we want to do this, we want to do that. And by buying all these things, are we not eroding on our goals? If I didn't buy that S40 or S, whatever it is, yeah, I could have kept that money aside and put it in a fixed deposit and earn some money and then, buy a refrigerator in my new house 10 years from now. No, I didn't. I want that S40 now. We have to ask ourselves that question. Does it actually align with our goals? And over a period of time, what happens is we start accumulating things in our house. Yeah. And when we accumulate, what happens is we spoil ourselves by desiring what we don't have. So we spoil ourselves saying, I don't have it, I must have it. So we accumulate and the house fills up without our ever realizing it. And then we need to understand that what we have now was only a hope many months ago, many years ago. That time we hoped for it. Today we have it, but we don't need it anymore. And our house is choked with things that we don't need or things that we've never looked at. A few years ago, I think this is about 4 years ago, I said, all right, there's a lot of stuff lying around the house, right? The house seemed very crowded, kind of. I have no place to move because there are things everywhere. Let's look at what is in the house. So I said, okay, I look at each item in the house, and then I will ask a question for each object. When did I last use it? If it is within the last 1 year, I categorize it as, okay, it is useful and I may use it again. If it is something which I have not used for a year, it goes straight into the garbage bin. Because if I have not used it for a year, it means I don't need it anyway. So discard. And the house became a much better place as a result of that. Yeah. So maybe we should do this categorization. Ask the question, have you used it in the last 1 year? If the answer is yes, there's a hope. If the answer is you have not used it for the last 1 year, it doesn't need to be a part of our lives anymore. It doesn't need to possess us, possess our space, possess our life. Because why? What happens? As we accumulate and those things start possessing us, we say, oh, I don't have enough place. I need one more cupboard. I need some more storage space. Forget it. Just get rid of it. But we don't do that, right? Because we are so consumed, so possessed that we keep it. And we need to start getting a little more detached about life. Now, detachment, let me make it clear, is not that you should not own anything. By all means, we need to own. We aspire to own things. We want a better TV set, we want a faster computer, we want a nicer mobile, and we want a car which is reliable and doesn't let us down in the middle of the highway. But the critical point here is that something should not own us. The moment it starts owning us, that is when our life starts becoming a little challenged, a little more complicated, a little more difficult. And then we don't know what's hit us. And by the time we begin to realize that we are possessed, that is when our brain starts getting kind of confused and we stop thinking clearly. We are taken over by that being possessed feeling of all the things that we thought we owned. We don't own them anymore. They own us. All right. At the end of the day, it is what it is, because that is how we have evolved as a community, as humankind. We've evolved that way. But that's not what it needs to be. That does not what it has to be. And at the end of today's session, when we all go back, maybe you will think about it again and say, am I still possessed? Or am I a different person? Over to you, Deepa.
Thank you, Mr. Hariharan. And I must confess, I am possessed and guilty of whatever you stated in your presentation. We're happy to announce that we've launched SixSox Community, our tiny bit to contribute to the society with the support of Mr. Venkat, known as the Pencil Man of U.A.E. To know more about the community initiative, do check out social media pages of Sampurna Shiksha and SixSox Minds. We thank you for having attended this session. Always remember, SixSox Minds is here to serve, learn, share, and reach beyond. We are also here for you and your organization to identify talents and help nurture them. We listen and address your requirement. Do reach out to us on sixsoxminds@gmail.com for this and more. It's a pleasure having you on board with us, and we look forward to seeing you all the week after the next. On that note, see you, au revoir, adios, ma salama, fir milenge.